Hi. So this tutorial I will be going over how to paint effects. Somebody asked me on Instagram how to do it, so it was a good idea, so I figured I'd try it. So if you guys have any other requests, feel free to always just send me a message. So usually I start out with reference. This one is like a smoke looking image. Just I like to analyze it first, so like a lot of the edges you can see they are more opaque than the center, which is less opaque, so that's something that I'll definitely be using as I paint the effects. This is just one type of effects, there's many different types, but a lot of times I do paint like kind of trailing smoke effects that could kind of be like energy lines, usually in a dark background, so we'll start with that. So we'll start with a background. So I will pick a cooler color as a background, relatively dark, just for this example. And I will start with just a simple shape. I like to cast my effects with the actual emitters, so I will use in this example, I will make a quick little wand. And since it's in a dark environment, it'll be like a cool brown color, so let me just use a soft brush. So that, and then let's just say it's a simple kind of energy glow. You just make the shape a little bit cooler, and yeah, so there's the effects emitter, and that's usually how I start, and I might give it a little bit of like post-process. So color dodge is what I like to use a lot. Some other artists like to use it as well, but it does a really good job of just adding a lot of like a bloom effect that has a variety of different colors. If you turn color dynamics on, you can get like different kind of gradients and stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, I usually do that. So I would call this a bloom layer if you want to be organized. And now I can start painting effects because I know where the lighting is coming from, which is important. So I will start with the lasso tool, and I usually like to create like a cool design. So with the lasso tool, it lets me do a lot of like swooping kind of shapes. So let's just make something fun. That looks kind of fun. Maybe we'll use the same color and then just fill it in. All right, so this seems like a good shape for what I'm going for. So with this, I might want to add some smaller, just extra bits to, because it's interesting. It's like a juxtapose of like a small shape to a large shape, and maybe just see if I can cut out a different shape right there, just so that's more interesting. So with that, let's look at the reference. So like I mentioned earlier, the edges are a little bit more opaque, so let's try and go that kind of look in this guy right here. So let's just work with the edges, and maybe I could turn on pixel lock. Hopefully that will do something cool, and then just lasso the edges and pick a brighter color so it looks more opaque. You could turn off pixel lock and just do it manually as well. That works too. It gives you more control, because chances are if you have gradients on your brush, you might not have had 100% opacity. So if I turned off pixel lock, you can see it's a little bit brighter, which gives you a little bit more control. But it's annoying because you have to do the outside edges as well as you're lassoing. I personally like to use the lasso tool when I do this, just because it helps me simplify things. So here is always a cool area where the effects kind of like twirl into each other. So it's important to keep that look going on, just to give it more kind of like a dynamic shape, because it's easy to make it look flat. I mean, it's easy to make any painting look flat, so keeping things kind of flowing in and out of like three-dimensional space is always really important. So, and also varying like the thickness of that border opacity that I mentioned earlier is a good tip too. So just doing the rest. And then here's another area where you could have, it shows the underside, so I might just exaggerate the brightness a little bit over there, and there is the beginning of it. And sometimes it's fun if you have a good opportunity to have some negative shapes inside your like effects thing, so that doesn't work, so let's not do that. Maybe like have one right there that kind of connects a little bit, so it's like a broken line, and then maybe a small shape right here that could work. Maybe not, maybe right here. I'm always trying to give it like a little bit of movement, so I didn't like how that one was placed because it didn't flow very well with it. And see if the gradients work here, and it does. And then maybe just add a little bit of just graphic kind of gradients and stuff going on to give it more form. So let's see right here, that kind of looks kind of cool. And you can even do it for the outside ones too, just more detail, and that looks pretty cool. Maybe like there. And let's see, let's try doing it a little bit for here as well. And then if you really want to be fancy, I guess you could add some fun colors, because right now this is very monochromatic, which is fine. It's just not very interesting to look at. I guess the shape is cool, but it could always be cooler. So just select on the edges, and let's see. You could go crazy and give it like another, I wouldn't recommend keeping the same type of warmth or coolness. So this is overall a very cool image. So if you want to put a red, I wouldn't go straight down for a red like that. It's just too jarring. So I usually like to keep it in a cool red, which is sort of pinkish. And that kind of has like a nice accent to it. You can even add it into the effects itself if you want, just to add like some variety of color. Maybe try some green and all that stuff. So just looks more interesting. So yeah, so that's like one way of doing it. Maybe after this, I will go back into the bloom pass and then try and see if I can bloom out the whole piece, or maybe just like certain areas of it. It's really easy to go overboard with this, so it's important to be sort of subtle with it. So it's already going a little bit too crazy, so let's try our best not to make it too crazy. Let's see. So, I mean, that looks alright. It's not great. I question the use of the bloom, so I probably would tone it down. So I'm gonna use it. Just gonna erase it with a soft brush. Nothing fancy. And let's just tone some areas down. And maybe I want to actually just tone the whole thing down a little bit more, so I might just do it non-destructively, so make a mask out of it. And let's see if I could just, so maybe like that's kind of cool, because it's kind of like emitting from the emitter right here, and then it slowly fades away. And then the bloom needs to go as well, because it's like too bloomy right there. So, and you could always, I mean, you could keep on going with this, of course. Let's just add it in this layer. So like if you want, you could even add like more tinier effects. Of course, you want to keep in mind of like nice spacing. And let's see, let's try giving it this color. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. So you have like a large shape, have some interesting negative shapes inside, have some medium shapes contrasting with the large shapes, and you have some tiny shapes. So overall, I would say this is pretty interesting to look at. Of course, you could keep on rendering it even more, but for what it is, it's pretty cool. So yeah, this is just one way of painting effects. There's like multiple different types of effects you can paint. Definitely look at reference when you're doing this. It's definitely really useful to just base off something, so you don't need to figure it out yourself. But yeah, it's also good for like if you need to guide the eyes somewhere, you could use this kind of movement to like lead your eye towards a specific location in your illustration. So there's multiple uses for it. So yeah, give it a shot and feel free to send me what you made if you followed this tutorial, and I hope you like it. Thanks.